Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elkann, and welcome to Premarket Info.
Well, we had lots of chop there yesterday, Joel, but we still are finding resistance in this whole 1640 area.
Yeah, it got a nice pop up off the open yesterday, cleared the 1635 level, got to 1641, and then little article in the Financial Times took us down hard, didn't make a new low of the day, and came back to settle just about in the middle.
Yeah, you bring up the chart, show yesterday's trading action. Yeah, it was Robin Harding there from the Financial Times tweeted out his article, and he just said the Fed he was thinking that the Fed was going to taper in September, and everybody reads that as like, oh, does this guy know something? And the market gets nervous. It's crazy, like just off a tweet like that, that the market can have that vicious sell-off that it did, and then obviously bounces back when they realize that that was more his opinion as opposed to any factual information there. But it shows how jittery this market is, though, and how dependent it is on the Fed, continuing to obviously stay easing as opposed to pulling back their QE.
You think maybe get an inside day here at ahead of the Fed meeting
I
tomorrow? Just people looking to square up positions,
I
or
think it could happen. I think we're going to see a little less volatility today than we did yesterday, and I think you're exactly right. We often do see the calm before the storm ahead of the Fed here. I'd say, look at the 1640 area. We've had multiple highs there in the past. We have ticked up in the pre-market to 1639.50. So again, that's reiterating that resistance level. So resistance is resistance until it's broken, and that continues to remain resistance. You were bringing up a chart of gold here, and gold trading down again. Does gold ever go up here, Joel? Like it seems like every day, if the market goes down, well, gold just kind of sits there, and if the market's going up, gold's going down. It's just, I don't know, man. This gold has just not been a good investment here over the course of the last 2 or 3 months, and it's just hung out here almost too long now between the 1360 and $1,400 level, and it makes me think that it's starting to get heavy.
well, the gold bugs can be a little bit excited here that we did crack the support at the 1372 level. Went down to 1371.70, but we're still holding it. So basically, we're staying in a trading range for the last 4 or 5 days here. Haven't quite got to the recent low at 1364.50, but if you're holding in here at the 1372 level, it's trying to muster a little bit of a rally. Next level after that would be 1364.50, and that was a low on June 11th.
Yeah, I just look at that chart though. Like when you look at that chart, doesn't it look heavy to you? Doesn't it look like it's sitting there consolidating here for the last month and almost thinking like it might actually start breaking down again? What do you think? You think it?
I'm bearish everything,
I'm
Dennis. I mean,
bearish, bearish metals too, but you'll bearish everything. So go on to the crude. Might as well take a quick look at that because actually that has been popping up. Got some mechanical keyboard or something in the background. I don't know what's making noise, but crude is popping up here the last 3 or 4 trading sessions. This whole $98 level pretty key.
Right, we hit 98.03 here in the session today. Yesterday's high quite a bit up there, 98.74. That's your major resistance here. Keep an eye on yesterday's low. We hit 97.41 in today's session. 97.38 was the low from yesterday. Still pointing north until we take that out. We've slipped below 97.40. Really no major support until you get well into the 96 handle, perhaps 96.42. Which was your low on Friday.
Let's move into the equities here. We do have some market movers. Hormel Foods. Wow, that actually just got annihilated briefly there. They're cutting their 2013 guidance. They cut it at 8 a.m. Eastern, right on the button. $1.88 to $1.96 they're seeing now versus estimates are up at $1.99. But the news algo got a little bit excited here, Joel. Kind of overshot 39.36. Well, I was trading at 40.65. They ticked this thing down all the way to 35.18. Just 100 shares, but that's an overshoot if I've ever seen it. It is bid up now at 38.35, which seems a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah, I guess people stop eating spam or something. I don't know. That for it to go down to 35.18,
Yeah, that's
you
just
did get that
ridiculous.
print there. You're bouncing right up here now, just hugging the $37 level, which is still down, $3 and
Well,
sixty
it's
six
bid up
cents.
though now. Yeah, a 10-1 tick, but it's bid up at 38.35, so that's getting
Really?
reasonable. So I think,
Oh
and
my
nobody's
lord.
hitting that. That 38.35 guy's sitting there, nobody's hitting him. So it makes me think this thing's only going to open down a buck and a half or $2. I don't think you even come close to seeing anything under 37 bucks.
Okay, well, looking at the daily chart, did have a nice 3 day run. If it does start to go back into rally mode here, you did have four lows between 39.20 and 39.44. So all those lows now will now act as resistance if you start to rally. The low here, major low that you had was at 38.45. That was on June 6th, and you said that's approximately where it's trading at right now, correct?
Yeah, well,
Or
it hasn't
bid
traded,
at?
but it's bid 38.35 offered. Actually, it just ticked up to 38.70, so it just ticked up here a little bit again here. So it's only down about a buck 95 now, when it's down quite a bit there before. Uh,
Yeah, 38.45. Then the guy that was buying on June 6th is back out there again at that level.
do apologize for the audio troubles. I'm not sure what's happening in the background, but we're having a little bit of audio difficulties today, so do apologize for that. Move on to AIG here. AIG trading down on Bernstein comments this morning. They're saying their ILFC sale could be terminated. They're also lowering their 2014 earnings per share estimates because of that, just lowering by 4%. But that's enough to knock the stock down here 70 cents this morning. Closed at 45.15, is trading at 44.41 right now.
Took it down to 43.99 on the initial spike down. Rallied back to the 44.80 level since then. So there's a couple points to look at. Looking at the daily, and we were discussing this before we went on the air. Really, just very well defined support in AIG, 43 and a quarter. You had a low, a couple more at 43.23. So you still got to hang in there. That's still major support. You have 4 or 5 lows in that area, so that's another buck away from here. But I don't see AIG being in a whole lot of trouble until you take out that support level, and then we're obviously not going to see the major resistance that we have up here at the 46.50 level today, unless it can rally a couple bucks. But what a defined
Yeah.
trading range for this stock. For a pretty volatile stock too since the beginning of May. So see if there's going to be a resolution to it to the downside or the upside.
Those traders that have been trading these stocks and channels here for the last month and a half have done very well. Just looking at these old highs and old lows, and they seem to hold. Even look at J.P. Morgan from yesterday there,
Oh,
Joel. We've talked about that 54. We talked about it yesterday, the 54.20, 54.25 area being resistance. Again, that's resistance again, and 54.25 being the high there, or 54.25 being the high yesterday. I did put a trade on. I shorted a 54.17 a little early. I covered there just before the close, 53.90 and change. So I had a little trade off of that resistance level.
you had to take a whole 9 cents worth of heat on that?
7 cents. Yeah, I don't like taking any heat, but it's a decimal
Okay.
world. You got to take a little bit of heat. So, but again, here we are. We're up to $2.50. It'll be interesting. We just took 54.08 in the pre-market. It'll be interesting to see if that area can be resistance for the fifth time in a row.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit of a running start,
Yeah, it
since it
is.
closed at 53.85 and, trading up a little bit in the pre-market. Another one of the, another thing to be aware of too is, once if you play in the breakout on these kind of things and they go up, 15, 20 cents real quick, shortcoming or whatever, then they come back down to that level. That level should act as support. If that level, if after it breaks above it, it comes back down through it. Sometimes you get a lot of false moves in this market, but that's a great level if you J.P. Morgan traders out there to be looking at 54 and a quarter. And then not to be outdone by Bank America. Bank America has had 5 highs between 4 cent range. It's trading
Wow.
right up there right now at 13 and a quarter. So boy, it sure looks poised to get going and get a run start and take that out, and then trade up to the 13.55 level. 13.55 was your high on June 10th.
Yeah, and Obviously, just keep in mind that resistance is resistance until it's broken. So, I don't get interested in this until price starts ticking up in the 1330 area. Give it a couple of cents. But off the bat, we're opening right into that resistance, and you're right, we are getting a running start at it. So maybe today it's going to be the day that it takes out that resistance level. A couple other ones here. Let's move to the upgrades and downgrades because there's quite a few here this morning. You've got the financials actually getting some analyst action. HSBC getting upgraded at Citigroup here this morning, and it is trading up $1 right now at 54.68. Obviously the ADR, so it trades with an active market this early in the morning. But what do you think of this chart of HSBC?
Interesting call here. After the steady decline, I would just alert our traders the June 12th high, 54.86. I think we've kind of sneaked up there in the pre-market here. Yeah, pre-market high 54.74. So you're getting it up a stick, opening into resistance.
Couple other ones here. Barclays is bearish these Canadian banks because they're downgrading the Bank of Nova Scotia, which is BNS. They are also downgrading TD Bank, which is symbol TD. Both stocks haven't traded here today, but they are offered down, or offered flat at least, so I'd expect that they probably do open down somewhere with this Barclays downgrades.
Kind of tight ranges here too. Yesterday, 80.82 was the high. 80.21 is the low. Keep an eye on that. Haven't really had much trading in the pre-market.
Yeah.
I think with this TD, you take out this 80.21 level. You're really not looking at major support until you get into the mid 79. 79.60 was your low on Friday.
Here's an interesting chart. Comerica, which is CMA, they're getting downgraded at Wells Fargo. And I guess they were looking at this 3 or 4 days of consolidation where it kind of looks like it's just sitting on a cliff ready to fall off. We'll have to see if that does indeed happen today with this downgrade. It hasn't traded here in the pre-market. It's offered at 37.39 after closing at 37.59, so it looks like it will open down. I would keep an eye on that low, 37.18, which was the low from Friday. If it takes that out, a lot of air below.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one. You did have the 37.18 low on Friday, and then go back a little bit farther. You had a 37.26 low on May 8th. So sitting on the cliff formation. I don't know if O'Neill has that in his technical analysis book, but sitting on major support here could easily fall down to the 36.50 level.
Just going into CRL, which is Charles River Labs. That's getting downgraded to sell at the big gun Goldman Sachs, and that obviously is going to put some significant pressure on this stock today. It's offered at 42.49. Nobody's even hinting at buying him. Closed at 43.21, so it's offered down 70 cents. Nobody's looking at it. 41 is the best bid. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually do test this major support where you had these three lows from 41.70 to 41.85, basically back at the beginning of last week.
Actually, you got five lows in those in that area from 41.70 to 41.85. That's still a buck and a half away from there. You got to imagine, though, if it does manage to get down there on the first dip, could be some shorts anxious to see that level, get a little bounce there at least the first time. Coming back on the upside, haven't taken out yesterday's low yet, 42.90. So you can use that as resistance back up to the close of 43.21.
Goldman Sachs with a couple of other downgrades too. They're downgrading the Williams companies, which is WMB, and they are also downgrading WPZ, which is Williams Partners. So I guess they don't like Williams stocks here today. Both of those stocks are trading down in the pre-market.
Recent low of the move for Williams companies, 32.54. And then for the other issue on the what was the symbol on the other one, Dennis?
WPZ, bro.
Oh yeah,
Williams Partners.
Yeah, both paring down on the low of the move here. The recent low for the stock's been 47.22. So really, those are the only the only reference points that you have in those two issues.
Couple of earnings tonight that we're going to get is Adobe and Lazy Boy, and I just want to give you a little preview of the technicals here. Let's start with the big gun. Adobe hasn't traded here in the pre-market, but it has looked like it's found some nice support in the whole $42 level. It's rounding up and trying to get some interest here ahead of tonight's earnings report.
Right. Too high. You gave the support, the resistance, 43.76 to 43.85. So keep an eye on that level. If not, you could easily break into the 44 handle. And you got to mention Lazy Boy Chairs, my hometown, Monroe, Michigan. Here, this company has had a nice little run over the last couple days. It's got near the major resistance that you had at 1969. Can only get it up to 1956.
Guys, I got to cut in. Consumer Price Index just came in. U.S. CPI for the month of May came in at 0.1% versus expected 0.2% estimates. The prior was minus 0.4%. Core CPI month over month for May came in at 0.2%, exactly in line, beating the prior estimate of 0.1%. USA building permits for May came in at 974,000, slightly beating estimates of 975, or missing estimates of 975,000. And missing the prior revised number of 1.02 million. USA housing starts for May came in at 914,000 versus the 950,000 estimates, beating prior report of 853,000.
Thanks there, Jake, for the info. Market shopping around a little bit on that information. Not too crazy. 1635.50 where we're trading at right now here.
Yeah, I guess the S&P traders were getting a cup of coffee or something during that number. The number's just, I mean, besides the unenjoyment number, you really haven't been getting great moves
Yep.
off these levels. I will just notice that something got into gold here from those numbers. It's got a little bit of a rally
Starting to
going
bounce there
here.
a bit.
Yeah, it bouncing off that 1370 level. So whatever they saw in that CPI number, it's just getting the gold bugs a little bit excited here. So it rallied $5. You better sell it, right, Dennis?
Seems like every time gold rallies, it almost does a sell. But eventually, the gold bugs will have their day. I just don't know when that's going to be. Lazy Boy, we were talking about before we got those numbers there. You were citing that resistance area up in the 1965 area. We almost ticked up there yesterday. Have pulled back here, though, towards the close. We pulled back yesterday.
Yeah, just looking at the support too, two lows between 1881 and 91, those two levels. That boy, I tell you, if it cut through that level today ahead of earnings, I think I might be a little bit cautious owning this issue.
Well, you wanted to point out a couple other resistance levels here. ExxonMobil, this whole $92 level continues to remain major resistance. I feel like we've been talking about ExxonMobil, the $92 level, for a year. Have we not? Like, if you look back on this chart, this number has just been significant. I know it's cut through it a few times there back in May, but this $92 level has just been so significant for this stock. It's like the level that is just, it's always discussed here, and it seems like when it pierces back through it, it always becomes resistance here again. There's actually some institution that must agree with me because I see somebody selling 50,000 shares at 92 as well in the New York book.
Yeah, 91.71 high on Thursday, got up to 77 on Friday, or excuse me, yesterday. Just, not really popping here with the SPOOs up 3 points. You think it would be, hugging that level, but keep an eye on there as well as a nice round number of 92. The stock has not been over 92 since the end of May, the last day in May. So you got some nice resistance forming here in ExxonMobil.
And then you got this Apple level, this whole 430 level. We keep bouncing off of it. Does not want to pierce it. And actually, yesterday the same story got down to 40, 30, 36. And then went up to 435.70, but Apple has really gotten tight now. It's obviously only had a 5-point range yesterday. The range just keeps continuing to get tighter and tighter and tighter. Like I was saying, I think if eventually we do start taking out this whole 430, I know the low 428.50, but you got to give it a little bit once a $400 stock. This whole 430 area still is support. I got to think eventually, maybe though, it's going to take it out. But
When is the last time Apple traded in a 5-point range?
It's just getting tight. It's winding up to do something.
Yeah. Look, 5-point range. The day before, it had like an 8-point range. The company must be back there with just like an insatiable like 430 bid buying back. They must be using like $14 billion to buy the stock here at 430 or something. But man, it's just winding up here. Maybe a 420, 440 strangle or something here. Even though you get killed buying premium in this market. Boy, that 430 is just presenting you with a low risk buy here. At least you can identify the low of the move at 428.75. But
Yeah.
boy, 5 point range for Apple. Holy smokes! What happened to this stock?
Yeah, it just keeps getting tighter and tighter here. They want something, they want to hear about a new product. They want, something here, and I think it continues to just show little interest until we do start to hear some fundamentals from Apple here. But keep in mind, 428.50 is that low, and if that gets taken out, I would not want to be long this stock. So you do
I
have a
mean, I
low
bought
risk
an
buy.
iPhone. I bought an iPhone a couple months ago. I mean, that's not
It's
enough to
not helping
buy.
the iPhone. Well, talk about that iWatch. They keep talking about that thing, but I don't think that thing's going to reinvent the wheel here. Wristwatch. It's just I don't know.
Who wears watches
Well, that's what I'm
nowadays?
saying. It's kind of just a weird product, so I don't think that one's going to be the big gun thing. But
Okay,
that's
let's
the.
just touch on the solars real quick before we go to the question and answer period because these are very interesting charts here. First solar, since that secondary offering at 46, people have used it to whoop up on the stock, but now it's just holding 45 like a champ here. 44.34 has been the low of the move, but 44.80 it hit yesterday, and was able to rally off it. So nice support forming here under the price. You got any opinion? I know you're not in love with solar stocks.
Eh, I have no opinion on the solar stocks here right now, really. But I would just say, from a technical perspective, on the first solar, 44.34 is the bogey. That was the low on Friday. If you're going to play from the long side, that's the low where you need to cut out probably. If it breaks below there, I would not want to be long the stock. And that's what it's all about. It's all about keeping it simple. And that's what we try to do here on the show. Because really, these levels is really how the stocks trade. And when they start breaking down and making new lows, that's when you can make some money actually too. From playing it from the short side. Obviously, when support is support, you can play from the long side as well. But keeping it simple there, I'm looking at that 44.34 number. If that holds, you can stay a little bit bullish here. If that gets broken, I don't like the stock.
Yeah, you also got a low going back at 44.76 on May 9th. So that whole $45 level's been support for a while. SCTY, not as well defined of a chart here. You do have the three lows. This low of the move, 33.11, but 33.73, 33.80 stepped up to be a double bottom here. You've had four higher lows in the stock and three higher highs, so that's a good sign for it. And then the other one, SPWR. It's funny how all these charts just look the same. Major support coming in at the 1870 level.
Well, we're running short on time here, so that's our show for today. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow.